very warm welcome here from 5 things I learned from swimming about our self-regulating intelligence. My name is Hannelie Venucia. I'm from the Possibility Gap and the Joy Generation. So thank you for joining us here today. So the invitation is to sit comfortable and relax and just to soften your mind and your body and your heart. And the invitation is to join us at the ocean. We're witnessing something very interesting. Now there is this philosophical young fish, and she's curious about where the ocean is. So she asks other fish, "Where is the ocean? I've heard so much about it." But she was in the ocean. She lived there her whole life. She was born in the ocean. Yet she never experienced it as a separate object from herself. And an old fish heard about her, and he said to her, "This is the ocean. You're inside it." And she looked at him with disgust and she said, "You must be kidding. This is water, and you call it the ocean. I better ask some other wiser fish." Now for a fish, being pulled out by a fisherman is the only time that they could really experience the ocean, because they are drawn out of the water and they are thrown onto the sand. But us humans are different. There is no way that we can stand on a shore and look at existence. We are existence. We're not just part of existence. We are life. And we can easily feel like a fish out of water when there's so much turbulence going on in the world. But there is one thing that really holds us all together, regardless of our experiences, where we feel we are not part of life, that life's against us, that we're swimming upstream, is our breath. And that's one of the big assets we have, part of our self-regulating intelligence. That when we experience things like stress, overwhelm, anxiety, sensory overload from technology, empathic overload, the world just feels so heavy, the heaviness from the world, we just feel it, so intense, it drains us. It makes even the need for change feel like a burden. And it affects our mental health, our mental well-being. So we can feel like outside of the water, like a fish outside of life. But it's our breath that in swimming specifically help us to support, nourish, strengthen, and stimulate our self-regulating intelligence. But don't worry if you don't have access to a pool or the ocean where you can swim freely. There are other ways too, that we can apply what we've learned from swimming. That when we enact our self-regulating intelligence, how our experiences of life changes. And key to that is our connection to our own breath, conscious breathing. Because in swimming, that's important. It's what gives us buoyancy. It's what helps us to float in the water. And we enter another element, water, which is actually so known to us. More than 60% of our bodies are water. And we were in the womb of our mother, we were floating in the water. Again, nothing new to us. And when we enter water, we leave the element of air and earth, that sense of gravity, that connection to gravity, we actually enter timeless space. It's a thoughtless space. So when we are trapped in obsessive self-talk, in negative thinking and the likes, down spiral talk, taking a shower, soaking in a hot bath, or lukewarm bath, really nourishing our soul, but it's also good for our nervous system. Now swimming, no matter the type of stroke, or whether we play in the water, or whether we are finding ourselves in a sensory deprivation tank, we're just floating in there, or whether we're doing water aerobics, no matter the type of water body that we enter into, we not only strengthen our mental capacity and our mental strength, but also our emotional intelligence and our emotional maturity and flexibility, and our physical agility and vitality at the same time. Because we can easily get stuck and our bodies contract during trauma, shock, disruptions, turbulence, which we have plenty in the world right now. And that movement through the body, even if we just walk through the body or just play in the water, is not only soothing for our souls, because as a baby, we were used to that, but as a human being, it helps us to create balance in our lives. And that we can connect to our core stability through our breath. Now, in breaststroke, we open our hearts. It's very heart opening. It helps us to trust life again and to be less guarded as we are moving the water apart. But it's the breath that helps us to do that. And our feet help in the process, those froggy-like feet. Incredible for us if we don't trust life anymore. So you don't have access to a water body. Walk through the room just like this. Open your whole body, your heart. And connect with your breath, conscious breathing. That keeps us connected to existence, because we are existence itself in a human form. The same with butterfly stroke. It lifts us and it elevates us out and above all our dilemmas, all our problems. We rise with the breath, and then we float and we stride through the water. We rise, we lift the body lifts up. So again, if you feel that life is just too much, walk like this through the room, butterfly stroke, and raise your body and imagine you floating through the water forward. That strides that you're making. Again, focusing on your breath. Likewise, if you feel you're swimming upstream, that you are pulled apart by opposing forces, backstroke, flip it upside down, paradoxical thinking. Think immediately, go to the other side, thinking the opposite, and imagine that to be true. But in terms of swimming, we turn on our backs. That's when we can truly, if there's opposing streams and forces in the water, that we can overcome that, because we don't look at it then, but we move through the water. And if we were going to do breaststroke, for example, we will feel that force, or even butterfly stroke will lift us above that force. And if we're a strong swimmer, freestyle will help us too to go through it, because we're not walking it like we usually would walk with our arms to our sides. So there's movement, but again it's connected to the breath. That creates that core stability. And no matter the type of swimming, whether it's freestyle, backstroke, playing in the water, breaststroke, butterfly stroke, whatever it might be, it's the breath that keeps us buoyant, that helps us to float. That we don't have to fight opposing forces and feeling we are pulled apart. Because it's that core stability in our self-regulating intelligence that allows us not only to see things from a different perspective, especially we look forward and up, which helps us to see things from different perspectives as well. That rise and the flow, even the floating, because we're in another element and we're quite comfortable in that element. And it doesn't need to be physical exertion. Rocking in the water is nourishing for our soul. So when you feel emotionally drained, overwhelmed, anxiety, just rock in the water. Just stand under the shower even and just rock like this. But feel the water falling all over you. Again, just connecting to your breath. Now, in terms of freestyle, it's really powerful for us in terms of balancing life, of handling contrasts and polarities, because we're creating complete balance. Also in our brains, and our left and right brain hemisphere is very good for us, that we can access whatever part we need in a specific moment without thinking about it, to creating balance in our lives, that we can again move through whatever is coming our way gracefully. We find our own rhythm. So whatever is going on around ourselves, we can focus on our own rhythm, and our bodies calibrate to that. So it helps us in the process. And it's very good for our immune systems. It strengthens our immune systems, especially if we swim in cold water, taking ice baths. Very good for our immune systems that we can handle extreme conditions. It also stimulates and supports our nervous system, that we don't go into flight, fright, freeze, and please during trauma, during disruptions, during turbulence. That we can stay in flow and we can move through it, even if we just in a pool move through the water or whatever water body you have access to, the lake. Move through it. And if you don't have access to water, imagine the water and just use any of the strokes, arms, and you imagine yourself moving through that. Moving the body, you may be moving the water inside of us. So we don't get stuck energy on contraction. And then we're in big trouble, because then we'll create all kinds of illnesses. It also energizes us when we just simply play in the water. And it's deeply soul nourishing for us. Again, because we are water itself. And we are life itself, connecting to our breaths. It's really important for us to take a step back when things happen in front of us. Now, when we're diving into a pool, we usually take a little bit of distance and then we dive, right? So again, just taking a bit distance from a situation, that we can look at it before we just dive head on into it and we react. So we have a bit of time that we give ourselves, and then we connect with another element. And maybe we need to run around the pool so that we can look at it from a different perspective, the situation. Like when we're playing, especially like kids, running around the pool and then diving in. Again, a part of our self-regulating intelligence. Now, swimming is good for our other systems in our body too. Our respiratory system. Really expanding and improving our lung capacity, especially during the pandemic, really important for us. Likewise, our cardiovascular system, our muscular system is really good for all of us, but it's also on an emotional level very good for us. We might easily bottle things up, not really expressing how we truly feel. It's another way to help us release, to move through the water, to move through the room with one of the strokes. Likewise, we're clearing the way for ourselves. If we feel trapped, just walk through the room like this with like butterfly stroke. Clearing the way. And the body again recalibrates, and it also helps us in our mental mindset to move through things, clearing the way. And we take in control. That's why it's self-regulatory intelligence that we enact. We take self-responsibility for ourselves. We're not looking for somebody else to come and save us there in the big wide ocean of life. Likewise, it helps us to maintain our individuality when we are in a crowd, our sense of self, because we're moving through that timeless, thoughtless space, and we deeply connect with our breath. And our breath is most powerful for us to connect to our true sense of self and to know where we stop, where we begin. So also it helps us with clear boundaries. Maybe we must set some boundaries. So in those strokes, just walking through the room like that, becoming aware of where do I begin and where do I stop. So it's okay for me to say no. And maybe I must expand my boundaries. Maybe I'm isolating myself too much. Again, opening up to that. Maybe I must lift myself up, like with butterfly stroke. Or maybe I must flip things upside down, backstroke through the room or through the water. And maybe I feel lack of balance in my life, then freestyle. Really powerful. Or maybe I need more time to play. Maybe I'm taking life too serious. And in that weightlessness, in swimming, in being in the water element, helps us just to shake all of that heaviness off. That we can come back to our center. Now, if you want to really improve your self-regulating intelligence and to apply it in your daily life, no matter what's happening around you, we have what we call the CIA of Being. It's a threefold experimental, interactive, downloadable experience where you get to really work with your own core stability in different ways and to stimulate and nourish your self-regulating intelligence. CIA, Central Intelligence System, it's all here. Body, mind, heart, soul, and spirit. That whenever we have these traumas and turbulences and disruptions and uncertainty and anxiety happening in our lives, and even stress, especially stress reduction, we're able to not react, but to respond to life from a centered place, and we are able to connect with our core stability here inside of us and have that deeper connection with conscious breathing. So we can also begin to really calibrate ourselves and connect to our own true rhythm. And that doesn't mean we need to do things by ourselves. It helps us then that when we participate in any group activity, that we don't react and act out of a wounded ego perspective, and that even if there's turbulence in that environment, we can stay true to ourselves and yet participating totally, fully, because our hearts are open. We can rise above anything that happens. We can flip things upside down and we can create complete balance. Maybe there's imbalance in the group or the team or the organization. No matter the type of how people come together, we can bring balance into that. And our bodies will be our instrument guiding us and our breath. Maybe we need to bring some calm into situation. So having this experience of movement, of connecting with water, ourselves, and our core stability helps us to bring that calm. Or maybe we need to energize the situation. Then we'll bring more of that butterfly stroke into the situation. Maybe there's a lot of cynic people, of skeptic people in our team or our group or our network. Then we can bring more heart opening into it. And we are like tuning forks. We, so to speak, calibrate the whole situation, not the people, the situation. So we have dominion over situations. It's not about the people involved. So thank you for being with me. And if you want that CIA of Being, you're most welcome to connect with us at welcome@thepossibilitygap.com. It's downloadable from our joygeneration.world website, www.joygeneration.world website, under Joy Panorama. CIA of Being. Now next week, I'll be sharing 5 things I learned from writing poetry about the soul of the world. So you have a wonderful week and enjoy the water element this week. Goodbye.